Regulated medical waste training. This training is divided into 5 sections. After each section will be a short quiz. Because this training cannot be state-specific, please cover state-specific information with your supervisor. Section 1. Introduction to the regulations and an overview. This training covers the proper handling, packaging, and transportation of regulated medical waste. Confusion surrounds this topic because there are many different names for regulated medical waste, as well as many governmental agencies, both at the state and federal level, that enter into this highly regulated topic. Medical waste and sharps are a subset of waste generated at healthcare facilities, including research facilities and laboratories. General medical waste is healthcare waste that may be contaminated by blood or other potentially infectious materials and is often referred to as regulated medical waste, or RMW. Throughout this training, we will consistently use the term regulated medical waste, unless we're using text directly from a regulatory agency. In the Code of Federal Regulations, OSHA defines regulated waste as liquid or semi-liquid blood or other potentially infectious materials, contaminated items that would release blood or other potentially infectious materials in a liquid or semi-liquid state if compressed, items that are caked with dried blood or other potentially infectious materials and are capable of releasing these materials during handling, contaminated sharps, and pathological and microbiological wastes containing blood or other potentially infectious materials. In the Code of Federal Regulations, OSHA defines other potentially infectious material, or OPIM, as semen, vaginal secretions, cerebrospinal fluid, synovial fluid, pleural fluid, pericardial fluid, peritoneal fluid, amniotic fluid, saliva in dental procedures, any body fluid that is visibly contaminated with blood, and all body fluids in situations where it's difficult or impossible to differentiate between body fluids, any unfixed tissue or organ other than intact skin from a human, living or dead, and HIV-containing cell or tissue cultures, organ cultures, and HIV or HBV-containing culture medium or other solutions, and blood, organs, or other tissues from experimental animals infected with HIV or HBV. Please note, according to the DOT PHMSA, HIV cultures cannot be transported as regulated medical waste and are categorized differently. This will be covered later. Regulatory overview. From a regulatory perspective, several governmental agencies get involved in regulated medical waste. These include the Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA, Department of Transportation Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, or DOT PHMSA, and similar agencies at the state level. Environmental Protection Agency. Although the EPA no longer plays a central role in regulated medical waste management, the EPA was required by Congress to create a 2-year medical waste management program. This is known as the Medical Waste Tracking Act of 1988. This tracked waste from creation to transportation to destruction. This was in effect from June 1989 to June 1991 in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. This was the beginning of the management and tracking of medical waste. Occupational Safety and Health Administration. Federal OSHA or OSHA state plan states regulate the management of sharps, the requirements for sharps containers, the labeling of medical waste, and employee training. The Medical Waste Tracking Act found that medical waste is most hazardous where it's generated. Because of this finding, OSHA plays a role in regulating medical waste. Department of Transportation. The Department of Transportation regulates the packaging and safe transportation of regulated medical waste. As a note, the DOT refers to regulated medical waste as an infectious substance. An infectious substance is regulated as a hazardous material under the Department of Transportation's Hazardous Materials Regulations, or HMR. The HMR apply to any material the DOT determines is capable of posing an unreasonable risk to the health, safety, and property when transported. An infectious substance must conform to all HMR requirements. The DOT Hazardous Materials Regulations apply to the following: all shipments of hazardous materials in commerce. When loading, moving, unloading, and storing any shipment of hazardous materials that are still under active shipping papers. Hazardous materials under active shipping until they are unloaded from the transporter's truck into the receiving entity's property. State agencies. In some states, the state EPA is responsible for developing and managing RMW. Additionally, the Department of Health may also play a role. In many states, the state DOT will regulate and enforce the transportation of regulated medical waste. Again, because of the complexities encompassing regulated medical waste, please become familiar with state-specific requirements. We'll now take a closer look at the Department of Transportation's classification of regulated medical waste. We'll now take a closer look at the Department of Transportation's classification of regulated medical waste. On June 2, 2006, the DOT published regulations and a classification system regarding the transportation of regulated medical waste, also known by the DOT as infectious substances. This categorization was established to be in harmony with the United Nations recommendations for transporting infectious substances. What is Division 6.2? A material known or reasonably expected to contain a pathogen, such as bacteria, viruses, rickettsia, parasites, fungi, or prions that can cause disease in humans or animals. The DOT has classified the list below as Division 6.2 materials: infectious substances, biological products, cultures and stocks, regulated medical waste. For the purpose of this training, you only need to become familiar specifically with Division 6.2. Division 6.2 is broken down into two categories, Category A and Category B. Category A is an infectious substance transported in a form capable of causing permanent disability or life-threatening or fatal disease in otherwise healthy humans or animals when exposure occurs. Category A cannot be classified, packaged, or accepted as regulated medical waste. Category A substances are further categorized by UN 2814, infectious substances affecting humans; UN 2900, infectious substances affecting animals. Category A examples would include Ebola virus, variola virus, monkeypox. Category A also includes cultures of some other pathogens. Cultures are defined as a pathogen that is intentionally being propagated. For a complete list of Category A waste, consult with the Center for Disease Control or the DOT PHMSA. Category B is an infectious substance not in a form capable of causing permanent disability or life-threatening or fatal disease in otherwise healthy humans or animals when exposure occurs. These do not meet the criteria for Category A. Category B substances are further categorized by UN 3373, diagnostic specimens which are being transported for the purpose of diagnosis, and UN 3291 regulated medical waste. To accurately categorize human immunodeficiency virus, or HIV, there are two specific categories. Category A would include cultures of HIV. As a reminder, cultures are for the purpose of propagating a pathogen, such as HIV. And Category B would include personal protective equipment, sharps, and other waste that is potentially contaminated with HIV.